We have lots to get to tonight, but we're starting off with this. A group of kayakers was rescued off the coast of Cape Elizabeth tonight near Two Lights State Park. According to the Cape Elizabeth fire chief, a group of 3 had kayaked from Kettle Cove to the Lobster Shack for dinner. On their way back, one of those kayakers capsized. Another kayaker paddled to shore where they called for help. The remaining person in a kayak and the person capsized in the water were able to make it to the shore on the rocks. That's according to the fire chief. He says they were then recovered by rescue crews from Cape Elizabeth Fire, South Portland Fire, and Portland Fire. All 3 kayakers were checked out by EMS and no injuries were reported. A News Center Maine team spoke to the kayakers shortly after the rescue. They did not want to appear on camera, but told us that they shot off a flare while trying to get help. According to the fire chief, one of the kayaks was not recovered. We're going to turn now to meteorologist Alan Holt to get an idea of what the conditions out there were like tonight. Alan, I imagine the water was pretty cold still.
Yeah, they were dealing with some chilly ocean temperatures. They were also fighting a quick loss of daylight. It sounds like this happened a little bit before sunset, which was at 8:22. And given the extra clouds coming in, I know many of you are getting rain. You had a much more abbreviated twilight, so you couldn't see as well as you could have been able to if it was a cloudless night. But sea surface temperatures are in the middle to upper 50s along the southern Maine coast. Just 10 days ago, these numbers were closer to 50, so they've come up quite a bit over the last 10 days. But really anything under 60 on ocean temperatures or water temperatures, you start to introduce hypothermia as a risk, and at 10 to 15 minutes time, you lose some dexterity in your fingers. You start being able to not control your breathing as well as you otherwise would be able to. And at a half hour to an hour, that's when the hypothermia risk really starts to accelerate. Keep in mind, the water temperatures were closer to 60, so this window was probably closer to 60 minutes if the kayaker that was in the water was rescued within about 30 minutes. And then after an hour's time, that's when you could start to lose consciousness. Waves weren't overly big, 2-foot seas out there. Winds are calm. That likely helped rescuing the kayaker that was in the water. Rain didn't move into the Cape Elizabeth area until about 9:30, so this had all happened by the time the rain started to move in. And the rain is pretty heavy in spots of the state. I know Waterville, you're getting into some thunderstorm activity, a big downpour just to the west of you. And this is going to continue to move through the state overnight. We do have additional rain chances to talk about as we head toward the upcoming weekend, Bailey, and we'll be doing that here in just a few minutes.
Lots of useful context there. Thank you, Alan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, turning now to this, Thornton Academy and Saco schools are nearing the end of their current contract. Many people are wondering what comes next. Saco does not have a public high school, so students there go to the private Thornton Academy through an agreement between the academy and the Saco School Board. News Center Maine Sam Olson shows us why school leaders are at odds and have been negotiating since 2024.
Thornton Academy teachers took to Main Street to show solidarity after the private school and the Saco School Department acknowledged they still have things to iron out in negotiations.
Myself and other faculty and many residents of Saco are just left questioning, who wants this?
Saco superintendent says there are 2 minor issues they're stuck on. One is how to handle students who want to go somewhere other than Thornton Academy. Saco schools say their superintendent, Jeremy Ray, who also serves as superintendent for Biddeford and Dayton, can grant a student the option to go to another school. But Saco says Thornton Academy is asking for a requirement in the contract that its headmaster has to sign off too.
They seem to be prioritizing language that would allow them to shift students out of Thornton Academy, and we don't think that's a collaborative effort.
Thornton Academy's headmaster, Rainey Maynard, says if students were to leave, tax dollars would go to other districts, and that would severely impact their programming and opportunities. Meanwhile, Saco Superintendent Ray tells us the deal will get done.
I don't think it was ever in jeopardy at the sense that people feel that it is in the public way. Yeah, there are some things to iron out to make sure that you don't have disputes after the end of a contract, and that's part of the process.
In a letter to families Wednesday afternoon, Saco said it wants to develop a process for when there is a disagreement between the family, the superintendent, and academy on where to send the student.
But certainly we hear from parents on both sides of this piece, and our job is to represent the concerns of all.
We really hope that this does happen. But again, we want to continue this relationship where Thornton Academy continues to educate every Saco student.
Sam Olson reporting there. A Saco school board member had written in an email indicating they were considering moving to a free choice model because they believe the path is more equitable and sustainable to the needs of the entire community. The Saco School Board also took public comment at a meeting tonight where community members are sharing their concerns about the potential outcome of the negotiations between the school board and Thornton Academy. That meeting ended just before 11 tonight.